All right, welcome everyone to the second episode of our podcast, Queer Side Story. My name is Ray, she, they, and I'm once again joined by my amazing girlfriend. If you would just introduce yourself once again.
Hi, I'm Amelia, and I go by she, her, and I think you're my amazing girlfriend.
No. This is a reoccurring argument for sure.
As it should.
Goodness. Relationship aside, so today we're going to be talking about how media influences youth today. And we basically had a little date yesterday and watched San Junipero, one of my favorite lesbian movies, so to speak.
So good, honestly.
Even though it's not technically a movie, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's long enough to be a movie. Like, it's 60 minutes, just like a shorter movie. Yeah.
Sure. And definitely one of the best, if not the best, depictions of lesbian women, and bisexual women, since Kelly was bisexual, and such a great depiction of both.
Yeah, and it definitely has one of the happier endings for lesbian romances or WLW romances on screen.
For sure. And just for those who don't know what WLW means, that is women loving women, or women aligned people loving women. It's an acronym. Another similar ones are sapphic. Great words for describing an inclusive view of women aligned women loving other women. Just a quick aside. But to continue on San Junipero, which is okay.
Should we go over San Junipero, just what it is? Or
sure, it's a good place to start. So it's an episode of Black Mirror, one of the best in my opinion, and basically talks about this idea about life after death and rehabilitation for the elderly in this mental electronic world called San Junipero, where they can go and present however they want and meet whoever they want. And I think it is hinted that everything feels real as well. Pain slider or something was mentioned at one point.
Yeah, I guess it feels as real as you want it to feel, at least. Right, so it was basically like, what is death? It talked about a lot of subjects, not only like a relationship between two women, but it talked briefly about ageism. And
ableism too.
And ableism, yeah.
With oh goodness, what was her name? Yorkie, yes. With Yorkie being paraplegic or quadriplegic. I think it was quadriplegic. I get the two mixed up, which I feel horrible about. And it even talked about euthanasia. Quite a few topics. And which is incredible with how delicately they were able to touch on all the subjects in such a short amount of time.
That's true. They did talk about them in a very delicate way, like very humanistic way, I think. Like there was no like bad guy in the show, and there was no there was very little prejudice. I didn't really notice any, at least. Other than like that by Yorkie's family, who we never saw, like, in the show.
Yeah. It was definitely an idealistic world in that regard, where interracial relationships and queer relationships weren't looked down upon.
Mhm. Yeah.
But let's see. So something that I really adore about this show is how the episode can help future generations who are queer, especially, and just normalize it, because it really, like you said, doesn't talk about the prejudice against, or show much prejudice against queer relationships, which has its pros and cons. It's important to know the history and the possible prejudices against queer people.
Right.
But it is great to have a story that doesn't focus on that as like the defining feature. Or
they did talk about it a little bit with Yorkie's family, which I thought was good.
Mm-hmm.
Just they showed how much harm it could do to a person emotionally and mentally, and that led to a lot of consequences for Yorkie. But that was all they limited to the prejudice, and
yeah.
So it is good to acknowledge that it is out there.
For sure.
It would be so nice if it wasn't.
It would be. I'm just so happy that they didn't follow the stereotype of that being the focus of the story.
Yeah.
Or that prejudice defining a whole character's personality.
Mhm.
But very, very great episode. And I don't know how many young people out there watch Black Mirror, but from what I can tell, it's very, very popular in teens and young adults, which is a critical time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very critical time to be queer or discovering and questioning. Yeah, discovering yourself. That's good. And Netflix, I mean, it's a Netflix original. Like, that's a major, I don't know,
corporation.
Major corporation. I'm sure.
I don't know what those terms mean, actually, so I don't know which one.
I don't know. It's a major business for that a lot of young people, or at least people our age and younger and older, I don't know, it reaches a lot of people.
It sure does, especially with how popular it is.
Yeah.
And that popularity, they definitely, I think it was season 3, so definitely when it was popular or starting to become popular, they still chose to do a story such as San Junipero, which is really cool. And let's see.
You know, I kind of think it's like with Black Mirror, a lot of the episodes end unhappily just on a regular basis, but it was
true.
It was really great that they picked that one episode to not end terribly. That was one of the only episodes that doesn't end like really sad. And I think that's quite a statement.
Yeah, I think so too. I do wonder if they continuously just try and flip the script, so to speak, by showing not how should I say this? Like not overdone tropes, or not following the typical hero's journey, and not following those typical story plot lines where everything's happy in the end and it has to be happy, or the stereotypes that queer people die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a harsh way to put it, but way too many shows like that. So I do wonder if that plays a part of it. But definitely a very positive influence for me, and I'm sure other queer youth.
Yeah, I'm sure it can show it kind of shows like, you can have a happy ending too.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, it might look bad now, or maybe it doesn't, but it can be happy in the end, at least.
Right. And that's a very important story to tell. Yeah. And so I guess San Junipero is just a really great influence overall. Like, I'm just hearing pros.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's totally fine, because that's also what I'm saying. Like, I'm hearing and saying a lot of pros about San Junipero being a great influence, showing so many different sides to queer women and just the queer community in general, as well as tackling subjects such as ableism, ageism, and interracial relationships, as well as the science fiction questions of what is life after death. But
yeah, they kind of went through everything, or a lot of things.
There's a lot of content in the hour and a couple minutes, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say it's like 62 minutes long. I don't know.
Right.
It feels right in my heart.
I wonder, is there any cons that you can think of?
Technically, they did both die in the end. Technically.
That is true.
Yeah. But people die. They were both old. Which, ouch. Actually, I shouldn't have said that. But they were elderly. They were elderly, and it was their time. I don't know. It was natural. Anyway, not really much of a con. Honestly.
That is, sorry. I don't know. It's kind of a gray area, because that again taps into what is life after death. Can that be considered life? But that is one way. That is a good thing to point out, that they did still technically die.
Didn't completely subvert the trope.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of anything else. I guess they did kind of fall into the two stereotypes, which may be lesser known stereotypes, but at least from what I've seen in the queer community, there's like the stereotypical confident, outgoing, crazy, like lesbian, or bisexuals being party people, and then the stereotypical like dumb lesbian or useless lesbian trope, which is not that great to perpetuate. I mean, I guess they did grow out of those over the course of the story. But I did find that interesting that they still, while trying to subvert stereotypes and tropes, still sort of fell into subdivisions of that as well. And I'm not sure if they made it better by making them grow out of it, because in one way, yes, that is way better. But I don't know, the fact that it's still there when it's the best representation we can both think of, that's questionable.
That's true, yeah.
Until there's more representation, I think it's a little difficult to agree with the use of any stereotypes. So.
Yeah. It just, like, there's the stereotypes, since there's not a whole bunch of representation, especially. They just kind of show, like, oh, this is what you're supposed to act like. You're supposed to be a useless lesbian, kind of, or not be, you're just supposed to be, like, way out there or not at all. And that's kind of harmful, because people are just people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess that can be one con.
I guess
it's really hard to think of ones.
It is really hard to think of one because it was really great. Another kind of a con, and honestly, I'm not even totally sure if it would be a con, but when Yorkie and Kelly, the two protagonists, when they're fighting, it gets kind of nasty. Like, it's not, like, I think overall they had a healthy relationship, but they did get kind of nasty with each other. Which, again, that might just be because of, like, the constraints of the show. Like, it had to show a whole lot of backstory in 60 minutes, and, like, or actually all the backstory had to come in, like, very short amount of times because of spoilers and stuff like that. Like, as big reveals. But it was still, I don't know. It
definitely wasn't representing a very healthy relationship at some points.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely never okay to hit a partner. So that would definitely be more toxic. Although then there's the question of will this become a negative impact for representation in the queer community? That's a whole other story because it could just be her character. But it is a good point though, because that might teach young queer people that if you found the right one, so to speak, you should be able to, I don't know, do anything.
Yeah. Like, I know, especially, like, being female, you're raised where men are the ones who are abusers, but you have to remember that women can also be abusive. And so when you find out you like women, it's important to keep that in mind. Like, oh, just because I'm, like, in love with this woman, that doesn't mean it can be.
It's going to be dramatically.
Right. Yeah. They can also be dangerous, I guess.
That's a good point. And I know a couple of people who stay in honestly toxic relationships because they think that it's worth it, or they're the one for me, and that's that. And it is important for healthy queer relationships to be represented in media to help raise the level of expectation, shall I say.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good.
For a long time, the expectation was just marry a man. And so now it's like, you can marry a woman, but you have to be able to, you know, be put up with any type of abuse and marry after a week. That's not healthy anyway.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
there's definitely quite a bit of research that's going into why media affects people so much. And this is just to segue into the next sort of topics that we're going to discuss. So there's a couple theories, and Manvi Singh, who writes for NPR, wrote about this in an article discussing racial bias and how media affects our interpretations of other people. And I thought this would be pretty relevant. So on a basic level, there's it's that connection that we feel with characters, which I feel like we both felt last night. Immediately, both of us were like, oh my God, I love this character. Oh my God, she's awesome. And it's technically described as a parasocial relationships. where people can feel emotionally attached to characters in media. And that's definitely something I've experienced being an avid reader and TV and entertainment enjoyer. That friendship almost with characters on the screen. And in the case of San Junipero, I think that's a great thing for people to be able to see Yorkie and Kelly and relate to them in an emotional way. And I know I definitely do.
Yeah, for sure. They, like, a lot of Yorkie's experiences, like, were super relatable. Well, not necessarily, but, you know, they were just, she was a very relatable character for me because I do fit into a lot of the stereotypes. Like that I know we were just talking badly about, but at the same time, a little bit. Anyways,
it can be helpful for people who do fit those stereotypes to see someone like them. It becomes harmful when it's like that's the only type of person you can be, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk bad about
No, you're good. No, I didn't. I would totally agree with you. Like, they shouldn't just be the things that I can relate to, you know? It should be for everybody. Anyways,
crazy though.
Love Yorkie though.
That is an odd coincidence though, because I feel like I relate more to Kelly.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay. Sweetness aside, podcast, yes. The other a theory that I gleaned from Singh's article that I also thought was very important to talk about was something called intergroup contact theory, which is basically says when majority and minority people interact in the correct circumstances, positive feelings can grow towards the respective opposite group, which is very helpful for minorities to become more accepted. And media and movies and television do this through the parasocial relationship, like that emotional attachment that we feel to characters. If they happen to be minorities, it puts us into that intergroup contact. And the circumstances are often where the majority feel safe. Their TV in their house, in the movie theater. And so that makes it the correct circumstances for the people who fit into the majority to accept minorities more. And I really see this come into play with the relationships shown in San Junipero. Everyone's so super accepting of the minority characters, being queer especially. And I definitely think that could be something very helpful to see and be exposed to the minorities on screen, even if the youth in question that we're talking about aren't queer necessarily.
Yeah, like it's definitely, like especially for youth, sometimes young people don't always know queer people in real life. But as you get older, more of your friends start coming out. And so it's good to have stuff like San Junipero, I would think. If you just growing up, I guess. I don't know.
It's like a nice, safe introduction. Dip the toe in the water before you have to like actually meet and interact with someone who's queer. Which is definitely something I wish I had in my childhood.
Oh yeah, like it would have been nice not to like just hear my parents talk about it like for a long time. You know, just I don't know. It would have been nice. It's
the ways people are introduced to new types of people are very important and can definitely shape their future. Not entirely like written in law necessarily, because obviously I still turned out queer, but definitely negative portrayal for the majority of my life. So yeah, it would have been nice to have movies like San Junipero that maybe were a bit more kid-friendly. I will admit that.
Yeah.
Maybe not young teenager and kid approved, but definitely more shows are going towards that.
Yeah, and even more kid-friendly shows, which, I mean, honestly, I'm so glad that, like, there are more kid-friendly shows with more LGBT storylines. I know, like, Love, Simon gets a lot of flack for not being out there, but I thought it was kind of nice, like, because anybody could watch it.
Right.
Anyway, but that's a totally different show.
That is true. There's totally different problems following.
Totally different problems. Yeah.
Stereotypes, but it's sometimes important to show the stereotypes if they're, I don't know, it's a gray area.
It is a gray area. Anyway, but it was like pretty PG-13 or so. And which is yeah.
Right, because I think Black Mirror, it's R-rated or PG-14 or something.
And there's a good reason for that.
Definitely in other episodes. I will say San Junipero wasn't that explicit.
They did use a lot of language.
That's true.
And there was one, they didn't really, well, I don't know.
There's a little bit of...
Yeah, a little bit.
Of stuff, and I don't know, it definitely was tasteful, I would say. It wasn't explicit. I wouldn't call it explicit.
No.
But realistic, maybe. But definitely not for kids.
No.
But at least for young adults and teens, which are very formative years for figuring out yourself and where you are in the world and other people, it's definitely a great time to explore all different types of media.
For sure.
Make those parasocial relationships, just to continuously use those terms.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Ray. I feel like I keep forgetting the point we were trying to get across at any one point.
That's okay.
So,
we're just trying to discuss all of this. Sorry, that probably doesn't help, but I think we have said everything that needs to be said, and definitely reached over our time limit. So definitely an extra long episode today, and I really hope everyone enjoyed it. And thank you so much for listening to us ramble about San Junipero and how amazing it is. And I hope you guys come back next week for our next episode. And thank you so much, Amelia, for joining me again and talking about one of my favorite shows, for sure.
Mine too. Thank you so much for letting me be on your show and talking to you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you guys next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.